Welcome to the final of 4 videos covering the University of Queensland School of Architecture General Induction. This video covers the procedures and code of conduct for low-risk fieldwork activities that you will undertake, both as part of structured coursework activities as well as self-directed fieldwork activities. The built environment is a rich source of knowledge. Understanding this often means leaving the campus to travel to sites that may be in the city, suburbs, or further afield. Working in unfamiliar or outdoor environments can present risks to health and safety. Though most fieldwork activity undertaken in the school is low risk, it is important to take precautions to mitigate potential harm to ourselves and to others. This induction covers low-risk fieldwork activities only. Your supervisor or course coordinator will advise you when the activity is of a higher risk. According to the UQ and School of Architecture's definition of low-risk fieldwork, the fieldwork must not last for more than 1 day, that the fieldwork occurs in an area less than 30 minutes to a major regional centre with medical facilities, that the fieldwork is within a 200-kilometre radius of the St Lucia campus, that the fieldwork does not include construction, that the fieldwork is on public property, or if it is on private property, that permission has been granted to visit the property in writing and with the property owner or owner's representative present. And finally, that the fieldwork does not require interaction with a vulnerable third party, such as young children or the elderly, where additional risk measures may be needed. Some typical low-risk fieldwork activities may include a visit to a public building or park for the purpose of analysis, measured drawings, or critical review. It may involve site measurements using basic survey equipment, which requires longer stints outdoors exposed to the elements. It may involve visiting a building site or place of manufacture where enhanced risks of partially finished construction, noise, dust, fall and trip hazards may be present. In these circumstances, it will be necessary to have the cooperation of the site manager, who will typically escort a group through such hazardous environments, and students will need an enhanced level of preparation and personal protection equipment. Looking specifically at access to a work site or place of manufacture, though the site may present new and unusual risks, by and large such sites are heavily regulated. On the assumption that the owner and site manager are in agreement, entering such sites can be managed with a low-risk fieldwork plan, assuming prior planning has been put in place and that it is clearly understood that the host of the fieldwork on the private property is responsible for your safety whilst you are on that property. The specifics of the duty of care by the host are described in Section 20 of the Workplace Health and Safety Act of 2011 as per the extracts shown on this slide. In order for the host to exercise their duty of care, there may be an expectation for you to provide a level of your own personal protection equipment or PPE. The type of PPE should be made clear prior to the site visit by either your supervisor, course coordinator, or the host, or a combination of all three. However, the responsibility for personal health and safety is a two-way agreement that places an equal level of responsibility to the visitor to take reasonable care, to act sensibly, and to follow advice and instructions, and to cooperate with all reasonable policy and procedures of the host. When driving private car, please ensure that you exercise common sense and act in a professional manner. If you are running late, it is better to get someone to call ahead rather than trying to speed up to make time. For longer trips, ensure that there are adequate rest stops. Typically, a maximum driving duration of no more than 2 hours is recommended before having a break or swapping drivers. Ensure that you are aware of the emergency contact numbers. In most instances, 000 is the central emergency contact number. However, if you are in an area with no mobile reception, use 112 as this will default to the nearest mobile provider, irrespective of your own service provider. Any near misses should be reported to the supervisor of the activity. In some instances where the activity did not have a supervisor present, the supervisor should be informed at the next earliest time. In more serious circumstances, where the emergency services were contacted, the school and/or UQ security should be contacted and made aware of the incident and the circumstances as soon as practical after the event. This may mean just after the arrival or departure of an ambulance to the scene. It is important to recognise what is and what is not appropriate conduct when interacting with the general public during low-risk fieldwork. If the fieldwork or visit involves interacting with minors or vulnerable people, then it typically will require a high level of risk management and therefore is not deemed low risk. Equally, avoid impromptu surveys of the general public. An innocent question asking someone's opinion about a building or space may be construed as a survey, which usually triggers the need for ethical clearance. Simple time and motion studies where one observes the behaviour of people in public should be done in such a way that preserves anonymity and avoids direct photographic or video documentation. One must also be mindful of respecting a person's right to privacy in public and restrictions on taking photographs in some locations that may be deemed public but are in fact private property. Shopping centres are the most obvious example of this situation. Simple common sense should prevail. This includes not taking photos of children and minors, avoid close-up views of adults without prior permission, and avoid taking video. Try sketching over your images so that you can further de-identify individuals. Finally, it is important to avoid posting potentially compromising or defamatory images of people in social media. In other instances, the general public may ask you questions about your activities. If you are asked about what you are doing, always respond in an honest and courteous manner. It is usually helpful to have a course handout that explains the activity for the person to read. If necessary, and if there is a supervisor present, direct the person to the supervisor for more information. These next slides will cover some of the generic risks and mitigation strategies when undertaking fieldwork. In most instances, common sense and pre-planning are all that is needed. Sun exposure is one of the most common risk factors in Australia. Excessive exposure to UV radiation can lead to longer-term skin damage and melanoma. Damage is cumulative and not simply sustained if you just get sunburnt. When working outdoors, your risk mitigation strategies against skin damage due to UV radiation would include covering up with loose-fitting, long-sleeve t-shirts and pants, using 30+ rated sunscreens, protection to your head and face with a broad-brimmed hat, and wearing sunglasses. Avoid working in direct sunlight, work in the shade if you can, and limit exposure to direct sun for shorter periods, and try and schedule your activities to the cooler parts of the day. Fluid loss when working outdoors on hot days can cause discomfort at best, leading to a medical emergency at worst. Dehydration occurs when the body loses too much fluid. Thirst alone should not be a signal that dehydration is occurring. Other signs, such as the colour of urine, can also provide other indicators. When working outdoors or during physical activity, your risk mitigation strategies against dehydration would include regular water intake, drink in smaller amounts frequently rather than large, infrequent intake. Avoid too many sugary or sports drinks, and remember to drink even before your body registers thirst. Working outdoors in hot weather and or with high levels of physical exertion, compounded with dehydration, can lead to increased levels of heat-related risk factors. Heat stress occurs when heat is being absorbed by the body faster than it can cool down. Your level of exposure, the clothes you have on, and the activity you're doing, your level of fitness, and your age all contribute to your susceptibility to heat stress. Some of the symptoms of heat stress include heat rash, muscle cramps, excessive sweating, fatigue, headache, fainting, nausea, loss of concentration, and dizziness. When working outdoors or during physical activity, your risk mitigation strategies against heat stress would include working in well-ventilated areas, avoiding the hottest part of the day, and trying to schedule tasks to take best advantage of daily temperatures, maintain hydration, and rest regularly in a cool location. Heat stroke is a further escalation of heat-related conditions. Heat stroke is severe and should be treated as a medical emergency. If you suspect someone is suffering heat stroke, you should contact your supervisor immediately. Symptoms of heat stroke include decreased sweating, hot, red and dry skin, confusion, headache, dizziness, loss of consciousness and/or convulsions. In the most severe instances, emergency services should be contacted without delay. While emergency services arrive, move the person to a cooler location, remove tight-fitting clothing, and fan the body to cool them down. Provide cool but not cold drinks, and use a wet cloth around the neck and under the arms. With all levels of exposure from UV exposure right up to heat stress, the most important mitigating factor is to look out for your colleagues. In some instances, the focus on the task and trying to get the work done can result in forgetting to cover the basic common sense precautions. Subtle reminders and looking out for each other goes a long way to staying safe and mitigating risks in many instances. Other common medical emergencies can result from risks associated with allergies. Whether it be food or insect allergies, most people with the condition will know about it by the time they are an adult. It is important that you are prepared to manage your own condition. Though allergic reactions that trigger anaphylaxis rarely lead to death, they are traumatic, and known allergies should be made known to either your supervisor or co-workers, particularly if you have a severe case or the context that you are working in places you in an elevated risk state. For persons who have an elevated risk of allergic reaction, you should carry your anaphylaxis emergency plan with you, as well as your adrenaline medication. Other environmental risks may come from people around you. It is important to try and work in groups and to look out for colleagues. Though unprovoked aggressive behaviour is rare in most fieldwork activities, it is not without precedence. If you or your group is found in this situation, do not aggravate the situation by responding to or goading the aggressor. And if the situation is severe, call emergency services. This now ends the final video of the School of Architecture induction. If you have any questions relating to workplace health and safety or fieldwork in general, then please ask your course coordinator or supervisor for more information. You can review the inductions again at any time via the School of Architecture's OH&S Blackboard site. Your induction is valid for the duration of your enrolment in your current program. Typically, this means you will undertake the induction in the first year of your undergraduate degree and again for the first year of your master's degree. You must complete the online quiz to register completion of the induction, and this serves as a declaration that you have understood the procedures, codes of conduct, and your responsibilities generally in relation to the School of Architecture facilities, procedures, and low-risk fieldwork activities. Compliance audits through Blackboard will be undertaken, and students who have not completed the induction will be reminded to complete the induction in a timely manner. Continued non-compliance may result in exclusion from programmed fieldwork activities.